Life as We Knew It, Chapter 14, page 225. It was. You're alive, I said, as he bowed to my applause. I may be, but my quad sure isn't, he said. We thought you were dead, I said. I mean, your fans did. You were training in California. We didn't hear anything about you. I was touring, he said. We were safe and sound in Indianapolis. It took a long time to get word to my parents, and it took even longer to get back here. But I've been here for a few months now. Do you skate too? I looked down self-consciously at Mom's skates. I used to, I said. I used to take lessons with Mrs. Daly. Really, he said. She was my first coach. I know, I said. Sometimes she'd tell us how you were doing. We all rooted so hard for you. I bet you'd have medaled at the Olympics. Brandon grinned. My mom still thinks that's going to happen, he said. Like suddenly everything's going to be okay by February. Were you any good? Did you compete? A little bit, I said, on the intermediate level. I had most of my doubles, and I was working on a triple toe when I broke my ankle. Not even from skating, just one of those dumb accidents. I took up swimming after that. Swimming, Brandon said. That's a lost art form. Put on your skates. Let's see how you do. They're my mother's, I said. I haven't been on the ice in a long time. It felt funny lacing up the skates while Brandon was watching. Don't try any jumps, he said. Just do some stroking. Let me see how your edges are. So I skated, and he skated alongside me. I was wobbly at first, but then I got my feet under me, and it felt almost natural being there. Not bad, he said. I bet Mrs. Daly was sorry when you stopped skating. I'd forgotten how glorious it felt to be skating, to glide across the ice. I never wanted to stop, but in just a few minutes it was hard to breathe. The air, Brandon said. I've been at it for a couple of weeks now, and I've been building up resistance. Don't push too hard today. Give your lungs a chance to adjust. Are your parents okay? I asked after I caught my breath. My mother knows your mother. You have enough food? Does anybody? Brandon asked. We haven't starved yet, so I guess we're okay. He stroked around the pond to build up speed and did a camel spin. Brandon used to have the most beautiful camel in the world. Come on, he said. How was your spiral? Up to Mrs. Daly's standards? No, I admitted. My free leg was never high enough for her. Then it's a good thing she isn't watching, he said. Show me your spiral. It was an embarrassment. Don't ask for my layback, I said. I am totally out of shape. Well, you're certainly not overweight, he said. If you practice enough, you should be fine. We'll hold our own Olympics. You can win the gold and the silver and the bronze. He reached out for my hand and we skated together. No sound but the sound of our blades, well, mine mostly, against the ice. I knew he was skating slowly to keep pace with me. I knew I was keeping him from practicing his jumps, his spins, his footwork. I knew the world really must have ended because I was skating with Brandon Ehrlich, the way I had so often in my fantasies. It really was heaven, until I started coughing. That's enough for one day, he said. How about watching me? I miss an audience. So I stood by the side of the pond and watched Brandon do footwork and spins. After a few moments, he started coughing and skated to the edge of the pond. It's cold standing here, he said. Colder than the rinks. And darker, I said. He nodded. So you were a fan, he asked? Because I was local, or did you really like my skating? Both, I said. Mrs. Daly was always telling us about you. I love how you skate, your line, your extension. You were more than jumps. I really believed you could win at the Olympics. It was a long shot, he said, but I was aiming for gold. Is Mrs. Daly all right, I asked. I haven't seen her since all this happened. She and her husband left here in August, Brandon said. They have a daughter in Texas. How about all the other skaters, I asked. Do you know how they are? He shook his head. The ones on tour with me were okay when we split up, he said. They were desperate to get home. I wasn't quite so desperate, but after a while I couldn't figure out any other place to go, so I made it back here. My father cried when he saw me. My mother always cries, but it was the first time I'd ever seen my father cry. I guess that means something. I've stopped crying, I said. My best friend died and I just got mad. Come on, Brandon said. Skate. So I did. It was a nothing skate, just stroking and a 2-footed waltz jump and a ridiculous Ina Bauer. When I finished, I didn't feel mad anymore. Come back tomorrow, he said. I'd forgotten how much fun it is to skate with somebody. I'll try, I said, unlacing my skates and putting my shoes back on. Thank you. Thank you, he said. He went back on the ice, and when I left him, he was stroking the pond beautiful and alone.